Jeanne Fagnani es directora emérita de investigación del Centro Nacional de Investigación Científica de Francia, doctora y licenciada en Historia y Geografía. Ha sido consultora para la Unidad de Asesoría a la Secretaría General de la OCDE desde 2008 hasta 2011 en París. Ha publicado extensamente sobre políticas familiares en Francia y Alemania, sobre las políticas de conciliación de la vida, el empleo y la fecundidad en los países de la OCDE y sobre las políticas de cuidado de niños pequeños. Se unió Jeanne a la PPiiNA, a la plataforma internacional, en septiembre de 2011 y le voy a dar la palabra pidiéndole, como al resto de intervinientes en la mesa, que por favor ajusten sus intervenciones a unos 8 minutos para poder después también tener un debate con todos los asistentes. Le doy la palabra a Jeanne, que tiene un PowerPoint preparado y vamos a sacarlo y entonces interviene ella.
I will first begin because as I have only 7 minutes for my talk. First, I really want to...
8 minutes. I've given you one more.
You will have 8 minutes only. First, I really want to thank you. I'm very grateful to Teresa, Maria, and all the colleagues to have invited me because I'm really happy to be here. And you have a wonderful idea, and I'm completely supporting your proposal about the new parental leave. So I will begin just to say that unfortunately, France is not Sweden, Iceland, and it's a pity in this area because we have a very traditional parental leave schemes in France. And I think it's interesting to say a few words about this scheme because it contrasts so much with the parental leave in the Nordic countries and the parental leave and the proposal of PPiiNA. So this example will be just to let you know that what we should not do about parental leave. So parental leave in France is a scheme which allows both fathers and mothers to take a leave until the child is 3 years old. After the maternity leave, which is 18 weeks for the first child, and the first and the second child, when you have 3 children, you are provided with 6 months leave. The fathers, they have the same kind of leave, but only for 2 weeks, and it's also paid at full rate. But after the maternity or the paternity leave, they are allowed to take this leave for almost 3 years. But what is very important to take into account is that the recipient, so the mother or the father, will be provided with a flat rate benefit, which is 560 euros per month, whatever the income of the family, which already means that, of course, for most of the women in France who are full-time on the labor market, it's a disincentive to take this leave. And I will explain who is taking the characteristics of these recipients. During this leave, part-time is possible. And of course, accordingly, the benefit will be reduced and will fit to the number of hours worked. So it is a non-gender neutral scheme because almost 97% of the recipients are mothers, of course. Because like everywhere, in most of the couples, in 80%, around 80% of the couples, the fathers earn more than the mother, which means that anyway, it's much more advantageous from a financial point of view for the mother to take up this leave. And that's exactly what happens. So you only have 3.6% of the recipients who are fathers. It is still, I would like to set just the context, because since the 2000, the increase in the father and mothers who have taken up the part-time leave has increased dramatically, which is much better than to stop, of course, completely for 3 years. And what is interesting is that Daniel Boyer carried out just recently very interesting qualitative studies based on in-depth interviews with fathers being on parental leave. And it's interesting to, among many, many other results, to mention that most of them are taking the leave for only 1 day per week. So they are provided with a reduced flat rate benefit, and they work only 4 days out of 5 days. And mothers working part-time are, of course, much more, also quite, not so, the share of mothers who are working part-time and being on parental leave is much smaller than the fathers. So here I stop and I just make a few comments about these characteristics. First, it's interesting to mention that the mothers in France who avail for this, who are on parental leave, most of them are low qualified. They were employed before the leave, but their earnings were quite low. And most of the time, after 3 years, they try to go back to the labor market. And if they have statutory parental leave, they can resume their job. But many studies and many research have shown that it is very detrimental from a professional point of view for these mothers. Very detrimental. Because the employers are obliged, they are required to accept the parental leave. They cannot refuse and say, no, you have not the possibility to take up this leave. But when they return on the labor market, then they resume their job, then it's much harder than before, because the employers will try to give them a job which will be very, very far away, for example, from where they live. They will have to commute much longer than before, because they want to discourage very often them to come back. And on the contrary, for fathers, it's a little different. The results are a little different, because it's interesting, the research carried out by Daniel Boyer shows very well that they enjoy very much, and they feel rewarded. They feel rewarded to take care of the child. And what they express, what they declare, is that they would like to go on like that and to have at least 1 day per week just to dedicate their time to the child. So it's very rewarding for them. And I think it's one proof, once again, that we should, in France, move in the direction of the planned proposal. Thank you very much for your attention.
Muchas gracias, Jeanne.